the same sky, not only one in blood and land, not only one on skin's color and language. We have one spirit, we're one in struggle. Let's reach our dream together. We can, we are young together. Hey, hey, it's time to get up. Hold a hand, feel somebody. Set to go, we step together. One spirit to go. Great. Hey, not only one in blood and land, not only one on skin's color and language. We have one spirit, we're one in struggle. Let's reach our dream together. We are young, we can, we are young together. Hey, hey, it's time to get up. Hold a hand, feel somebody. Set to go, we step together. One spirit to go. Great. Hey, we are the winner generation. Reach as high as you can. Hold as much as you can. Pain is beautiful as you can. Breathe the best into the
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the ASEAN Youth Digital Forum 2021, presented by the ASEAN Youth Organization, and welcome to our second session of the AYDF, the workshop on youth and cybersecurity, ASEAN Youth Resilience and Adaptability in Cyberspace. My name is Nini, and I'm grateful to host you through today's event. On behalf of AYO, I thank you for joining us today, and I'm sure we'll take something back from the event, and please stay tuned for more. While we wait for the perfect timing, I want to do a quick survey on where we are from. Please write your name and tell us where you are watching us now from the chat box. So while you guys are introducing each other, this workshop on youth and cybersecurity, ASEAN Youth Resilience and Adaptability in Cyberspace, is a part of the AYDF 2021 workshop consisting of 2 webinars and 2 workshops from the 7th to the 8th August 2021. Today's workshop aims to instill a culture around sharing cybersecurity issues and the importance of these issues for ASEAN youths. This workshop aims to encourage youths' understanding on cybersecurity and cooperation with stakeholders in cyber resilience. The AYO recognizes the importance of resilience and resourcefulness of young people in their cyber world to face and tackle future cybersecurity challenges. And for today's session, we will have a keynote speaker, our guest honor, and 3 speakers which are experts in these fields. We have a keynote speaker, His Excellency Mr. Igusti Agung Wisakapucha, Executive Director, ASEAN Institute for Peace and Reconciliation. Please, I would like to thank you for joining us today. Our first speaker, Dr. Patarawan Prasanpanit, Thai Counselor, ASEAN Chief Information Officer. We thank you for your time. Our second speaker, Mr. Ali Hakim, Regional Sales Head, ASEAN Akamai Technologies Incorporated. Thank you for giving us insights today. And our last speaker, Mrs. Anita Wahid, Vice Chairwoman, Cyber Kreaski Indonesia. Thank you again for your participation. Before we begin our session, I would like to explain to you a little bit more about the rules of today's event. So all participants must turn off their microphones upon entry of the webinar room. Participants will get a chance to turn on their microphone only when they are invited by the moderator. And we would kindly appreciate your cooperation in changing your name format upon entry of the following. So for participants, it is participant hyphen your name. And for speakers, it is speaker hyphen your name. So this webinar will be recorded and live streamed through the ASEAN Youth Organization Facebook page. And during the Q&A sessions, participants are expected to be actively involved and ask questions in the chat box by using the following format. So listen carefully if you have any questions regarding to any speakers. So it is writing your name, hyphen, institution or affiliation, and then hyphen, your question. So your name, your institution, and then your question. So the organizing committee will select 3 questions, and those questions will be addressed to our speakers. So please be respectful and mindful for your statements or questions. And last, the most important one, please respect each other and engage in our webinar, and hopefully you will find some interesting insights from this event. This event wouldn't have happened if the AYDF 2021 weren't supported by the ASEAN Chief Information Officer Association, ASEAN Human Development Organization, GRAB, and Center for Digital Society, University of Gajah Mada. We also have some media partners, among others, to support this event: the National Council of Youth Organizations in Korea, Christian University Indonesia, Prince of Songkla University, and Soegija Pranata Catholic University. Before we begin the sessions, let's hear a keynote speech from our guest of honor, His Excellency Mr. Igusti Agung Wisaka Puja, Executive Director, ASEAN Institute for Peace and Reconciliation. Your Excellency, you may have your screen.
I thank you very much, distinguished speakers, dear youth participants, dear colleagues and friends. Good afternoon from Jakarta. As tomorrow, on the 8th of August, is an important day for ASEAN, let me express first happy 54th ASEAN Day to everyone. It is truly a delight to be here amongst you all in this forum. I would like to commend and thank the ASEAN Youth Organization for organizing this workshop and for bringing forward the very important issue of resilience in tackling non-traditional challenges to peace and security in the regions, namely cyber security. For my keynote address this afternoon, please allow me to provide a broader overview of how you, the youth of ASEAN, could utilize the information communication technology as a resource and tool for resilience and tackle challenges, not only cybersecurity, but overall peace in the regions. Where are we now? ASEAN is 54. Yes, 54. That's more than half a century. But it is not merely a number. In those 54 years, ASEAN and its member states have achieved remarkable progress in economic development, elevated millions of their peoples out of poverty, while nurturing and cultivating its beautiful socio-cultural diversity. Today, ASEAN has further developed as a more integrated and rules-based organization from when it first started. It has managed to transform itself from an association of states to a community of nations with its 3 pillars: political and security community, economic community, and socio-cultural community. As an organization, ASEAN has also developed into a driving force of many initiatives whose role is recognized by the international community. ASEAN has provided platforms for dialogues and cooperation for regional and major powers on a wide range of issues, from political, economic, socio-cultural to defense. How has ASEAN achieved all of this? One may ask. One simple answer is ASEAN has secured continued peace and stability in the region throughout its existence. In the past 54 years, no open military conflicts basically have happened between countries of ASEAN, although some border issues and disputes of internal conflicts continue to exist in certain parts of the region. Member states have been able to manage and settle them through peaceful negotiations. So conditions thus paved the way for ASEAN member states to develop its economies and elevate the livelihood and prosperity of its people. In 2009, dear colleagues, Concordia University in Canada organized a so-called President's Conference series entitled Every Breath You Take. This theme, I believe, was inspired by the popular song in 1983 during the Cold War era, written and performed by Sting from the rock band The Police with the same title, Every Breath You Take. This song is considered as the most misinterpreted song, as it is not just an ordinary love song. It is actually about the surveillance technology that has generated confusions and fakeness. The song can be understood as containing the illustrious combinations of several widely used techniques of the surveillance technology, which is now referred as cyber technology, a déjà vu indeed. Today, we are not discussing the song. However, it gives a warning that the threat of cybercrime is real and serious. Countries have been attacked, massive identity was stolen, creating a huge traffic of spams and creating an increasing level of attack sophistications. It is a paradox. Digital technologies, on one hand, are opening up unprecedented opportunities to accelerate growth and improve efficiency. But on the other hand, digitalization also provides threats and new challenges for cybersecurity, including in our regions in Southeast Asia, as many countries lack of strategic mindset and policy preparedness over cybersecurity. For this reason, it is considered that Southeast Asian nations need to develop cyber norms and confidence-building measures to preserve its long-achieved stability. Despite ASEAN's rapid growth and development, building and maintaining a peaceful and prosperous community naturally still has its challenges. In addition to this, the increase in trade, capital flows, and cyber linkages among ASEAN countries also generate even greater cybersecurity challenges. Security challenges posed by old issues, such as unresolved border issues and internal conflicts, still persist in the regions. Even more so, contemporary security challenges, such as radicalization and violent extremism, terrorism, trafficking in persons, drug trafficking, ethno-religious discord, climate change, and even intense geopolitical rivalries have all surfaced as potential disruptions to the security and stability of Southeast Asia as a region and ASEAN as an organization. Moreover, the region's growing strategic relevance makes it a prime target for cyber attacks. This past decade, there have been various notable cyber security incidents happening in ASEAN member states. Thus, cyber resilience now become an inevitable necessity for ASEAN. Noting the transboundary and cross-cutting nature of cybersecurity, ASEAN established a cross-sectoral and cross-pillar cybersecurity coordination committee, or the ASEAN Cyber CC, which held its inaugural meeting in November 2020. On the sidelines of the 32nd ASEAN Summit in 2018, the ASEAN leaders issued a statement on cybersecurity cooperations, reaffirming the need and commitment to build closer cooperation and coordination amongst ASEAN member states on cybersecurity policy development and capacity building initiatives. The recent joint communique of the 54th ASEAN Foreign Minister meeting on 2nd of August 2021 welcome the progress in ASEAN cybersecurity cooperation and reaffirm the commitment to building an open, secure, stable, accessible, interoperable, and peaceful ICT environment in ASEAN in view of the rapidly growing threats in the cybersphere. The ministers welcome the establishment of the cross-sectoral and cross-pillar ASEAN Cybersecurity Coordination Committee. They also welcome the proposal to develop a regional action plan on the implementation of norms of responsible states behavior in cyberspace. Dear participants, given the increasing complexity of the challenges and contemporary threat that ASEAN is facing, it is not only for track one stakeholders to be the only actor in this endeavor. As in any process, it is paramount to ensure not only the inclusivity, but also participation and engagement of all related stakeholders from the grassroots to the policymaking level. This is where the youth of ASEAN enter the picture. The youth is considered one of the most important as well as a significant majority in the population of ASEAN, as they are approximately 1 in 3 persons with a total around 213 million in the region. For nearly 2 years now, the ongoing pandemic have restrained us to many adjustments in our lives, find new and innovative ways to continue our lives, our work, and our goals. Given such conundrum, history has shown again and again that the youth, despite being those deeply affected, have shown to lead with creativity and innovations during challenging times. They have shown its strength and resilience through difficult times, to break boundaries, to give way to new ideas. In the context of peace building, I believe that it is only sustainable if it embraces core principles of conflict prevention. The youth, acting as peace builders, can play an important role in preventing conflict. I would like to zoom into one of ASEAN RPR recent webinars highlighting the empowerment of women and youth in building sustainable peace. Discussions of the webinar acknowledge how youth groups are often sidelined by the elders due to perception of behavior. However, it is also recognized the importance for youth groups to build a strong connections between competencies, skills, and willingness to be agents of change. In ASEAN, we have seen an abundant example of how youth is effectively and actively engaged in economic and cultural discourses that contributes to societal development. The engagement and contribution of the youth in the discourse of place is equally vital as other stakeholders, if not more. As the next generations, the youth would have a leading role as peace builders and bring the ASEAN community forward towards sustainable peace. Contemporary challenges in the region poses a demand that ASEAN should maintain lasting peace and stability through, among others, promotion of a culture of peace and dialogue, taking initiatives in conflict prevention, conflict resolution, and reconciliation. But just as important, the next question would be, how can we share the youth engagement in peace building? Also, what kind of role can the youth of ASEAN contribute to the building and maintaining of peaceful and prosperous ASEAN community? Ultimately, this is where the ASEAN IPER could be performed. Dear colleagues, friends, the ASEAN Institute for Peace and Reconciliation was established under the action line of the ASEAN Political Security Community Blueprint 2009-2015 to further consolidate the community building process by strengthening research activities on peace, conflict management, and conflict resolutions. The ASEAN RPR is mandated to be ASEAN institutions for research activities on peace, conflict resolutions, reconciliation, and post-conflict peace building. And in dealing with these issues, the Institute is given the flexibility to reach out and collaborate with all stakeholders, including government institutions, academic institutions, civil society groups, and of course, youth groups. The Institute's establishment comes from the notions of positive peace, not only based on the absence of conflict or war, but sustainable investment in development on institutions as well as societal attitudes that cultivates peace. This is reflected in the Institute's own motto, forging and fostering peace. This peace building is at the very core of our work, namely in promoting cultural of peace and the violence of moderations. To fulfill such mandates, the Institute is given the 5 functions: research, capacity building, pool of expertise and support for ASEAN bodies, networking, and disseminations of informations. What I would like to also underline from such functions, the Institute is a Track 1.5 platform in its work and activities that could serve in building capacity and increase involvement of the youth in ASEAN to promote dialogue, understanding, tolerance, and in the long run, sustainable peace. Through the Institute, ASEAN recognizes the importance of the youth resourcefulness to strengthen the resilience of positive peace in the regions. In 2018, the ASEAN APR held a regional youth conference on peace and tolerance with the theme building unity and common understanding in countering intolerance and violent extremisms. So I will be concluding my remarks. Following up the youth declarations under the ASEAN APR's 3-year work plan 2020-2023, the Institute has several activities tailored for the youth in the pipeline. So in January of this year, we conducted a focus group discussions taking on the theme, the role of ICT as a tool in mitigating conflict and fostering peace. Next week, on Wednesday, 11th of August 2021, starting at 2 p.m. Jakarta time, we will convene the second session of our series of webinars, especially taking on the theme, Youth as Agents of Peace, Utilizing Digital Platforms for Narrative of Peace. So we welcome you all to join our webinar. So furthermore, I'm proud also to inform you that we will be conducting a training this September, aptly titled Youth Tech, Utilizing Technology as an Instrument of Peace. So what is food for thought? So dear colleague, ICT has become part of our daily routines, especially now more than ever, where on the ongoing pandemic has shifted most of our social interaction with the rest of the world virtually. However, ICT has become somewhat of a double-edged sword. As I have mentioned earlier, through the ASEAN APR, ASEAN reaffirms its commitment to ensure the youth participation in the design and implementation of solutions for building sustainable peace. The Institute will hopefully grow not only as a, but as the platform and hub for ASEAN's many stakeholders, and especially the youth, to collaborate on relevant issues related to peace processes. Before I close the keynote, I would like to leave you all some food for thoughts and hopefully get some feedback from you all. First, as agent of peace, what do you think is the most relevant peace-related agenda in the region that should be spearheaded by the youth? Second, what role do you think the youth have in combating misinformation and disinformation, including cyber attacks, which act as seeds to bigger problems such as intolerance, hatred, and radicalism? And how can ICT be used as a tool for the youth in this context? In this challenging and dynamic world now, dear colleagues, peace shall not be taken for granted. ASEAN has been transformed from trust deficit into peace, building and maintain its level of ambitions on peace, security, and stability. The challenge is how to nurture this trust and confidence to achieve shared vision and common aspirations of the ASEAN community. Remember the ASEAN anthem, for peace, our goal from the very start, and prosperity to last. We hope this event today will create huge impact to the youth and provide aspirations to embrace changes. Success, I believe, consists of going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. Once again, would like to thank ASEAN Youth Organization to have dialogue with us and all of you today, and have a productive workshop. Thank you and happy ASEAN Day. Stay safe.
Thank you for an inspiring speech, Executive Director, ASEAN Institute for Peace and Reconciliation, His Excellency Mr. Agusti Agung Wisaka Pucha. Now, before we proceed, we would like to invite you all to turn on your camera and have a group photo session with us. Please give us your best smiles, and our team will be helping us in taking the pictures.
So we proceed to the photo session. Allow me to lead the photo sessions. On my mark, 3, 2, 1, and smile. Okay, thank you so much. Back to you, Nini.
Thank you. Now we will begin the presentations. So to start with, I would like to invite our first speaker, Dr. Patarawan Prasanpanit, Thai Counselor, ASEAN Chief Information Officer Association, to give her presentation on cybersecurity landscape in ASEAN. Dr. Patarawan Prasanpanit is a faculty member at Sassin School of Management of Chulalongkorn University. She is a certified information systems auditor and is also certified in the governance of enterprise IT. She also serves on the Information Systems Audit and Control Association Committee on Bangkok chapter and consults on various digital management projects by Thai governments. So state enterprises and private corporations. So without further ado, Miss Patarawan, your screen is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Nini. You can hear my voice clearly?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, thank you for your kind introductions. Okay, as I said that, so hopefully for this section, it's going to be a good sharing. I put it this way. So I'm glad that it's my pleasure to be here today from different generations, and hopefully from my sharing, it will give you the awareness and some idea of what is the landscape of cybersecurity, what are the threats, what you can do as well as the young generation. Okay, and let me go further. Okay, so what we've been talking today, so I will try to highlight the role for you in the cybersecurity management from different angles. So for you as a consumer, is a consumer netizen, you are the digital citizens, you're already in the cyberspace. So something that you need to be aware of, or something that you actually can help to manage the threat of cybersecurity itself. And also the role for you as in the corporate setting. Some of you probably already in the job market and already or some about to be in the job market. So in the corporate setting, from the management perspective, as well as from the employee perspective, what you can do to help address this issue, as well as from some of you probably want to be an entrepreneur themselves, like to be a startup or digital entrepreneurship. That might be the area that you want to be aware of. As I right now I'm involved in the project with Asian Development Bank, looking in terms of digital entrepreneurship from the startup in the ASEAN context. So people look in terms of digitalization, but digitalizations also come with the aspect of risk in terms of cybersecurity. So something that you need to be aware of and find a way to actually manage this effectively. So this is a brief role that you probably can think of how you can associate with this. So I just want to highlight as I did inform about the main issues of the ASEAN Youth Organization is to promote the digitalization. So not in terms of digitalization, normally we look in terms of the positive side, the value creations. So we look in terms of make sure good things happen. We put investment, we try to digitalize everything, make it more efficient, create value to the customers. And all of this is the opportunities that offer by digital technology. On the other hand, every time you seek opportunity, it's like investment. You put the money, you invest, you see opportunities. It's always a risk involved in that. So the other side you have to look is you have to preserve the value that you invested in. So you need to make sure that the bad thing is not happening as well. So that is from that. The cybersecurity is about risk management. So everything you do, there's always a risk aspect of that. So you need to manage the risk. When you manage the risk, it means you have to outweigh between cost and benefits. So you cannot protect everything. So you need to apply that philosophy in the cybersecurity as well. So I will talk more on that. Okay, just to lay you the ground about something for you to get back from today is the key principle about cybersecurity. It's about the practice that protect device, system, network, program, or the data from unauthorized access from criminal use. But the bottom line is I want you to think that we not just protect the device, the equipment for the sake of device. Basically, we want to protect ultimately is the data. The data is belong to us, it's our sensitive data, name, address, phone number, or credit card number. From the business standpoint, they want to protect the data for them to run the business, sensitive data, corporate data, trade secret, everything that they need to run the business. So basically, the key is the data. That is the key resources here. This is the classics that some of you probably have heard people talking about CIA. This is the key goal for cybersecurity, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So these three things that you need to be able to achieve. But some of you already been a victims of the cybersecurity risk. That means some of this goal is being compromised. So you need to be able to keep the data that is supposed to be kept confidential. You need to be able to achieve that. Your personal data, credit card information, all of this is confidential. So only people have the right to access they should have. But if they don't have the right to access, they shouldn't. The criminal act, they want to get into your data and do a criminal harm on you. Availability, every time you want to access data, you need to be able to do so. So the system is down, it's being hacked, they got an attack, that means you cannot access the system to do the business or to do some function. Some of you probably got a hacked by the iPhone or the mobile phone, so you cannot access your data, you cannot do anything. That means it's being compromised already. Integrity is another thing, is you'll be able to access data, the data confidential is still being kept from unauthorized access, but the data is not accurate. Somebody tried to change the data to an inaccurate value. They change the credit limits from 10,000 to 100,000, and they can do money transfer cap to the credit limit. That means it's being compromised already. So all of the three things here, if you want to keep in mind about this is the key goal that we want to achieve for cybersecurity. If you're not be able to achieve, it's being compromised. That is already breached on that. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So this one, the reason I put out this news is one of the key website operator, the Yahoo, is being attacked. They got a data breach. So the data of sensitive data, email address, is being hacked. It's being shown in the public, including probably passwords, and the subsequent is CEO, the top management have to be accountable for that and get into a lawsuit. And here, the issue is they delay the disclosure of the incident, which means that if you are the victims, you have the account at Yahoo, it's being disclosed, then the password that you use in Yahoo probably gonna be the same password that you use in internet banking. Maybe some of you have. So I'm not sure if I ask how many set of password you have been using. For me, I probably have like 3 sets and keep rotating in different websites because there's so many websites I cannot remember. But yeah, if you are the website that very sensitive like online banking, you shouldn't be using the same password with other website that is not critical, because the website that like just membership of something, it doesn't have sensitive issue, no money transfer, anything like that. So they don't invest money on security measures. So it's gonna be breached very easily, and that's the target. And if you use the same password with that website, they get it, they see your password, they can try in online banking and use the same password that you have. And they know that you are in Thailand, what banks is you have the local bank. They know that you are in Indonesia, so what is the local bank on that? They can try it very easily. And the issue is here is that the corporate responsibility is once they suspect that could be an attack, they should inform the public. Because if you are the customer, you may change the password immediately in other websites, or you may just cancel the credit card. That would help. But here they delay the disclosure. That's why they got a big lawsuit on this. The same thing here, another incident about the hotel industry, Marriott. So they got a big fine from GDPR, which is that in the European Union, they have the consortium in terms of general data protection law, the regulation they launched on that, and they got a fine, the hotel got a fine on that. And this one, I just want to highlight the issue for all of you to be aware of is that for this breach, actually, the database of the customer is under the Starwood Hotel, and Marriott acquired Starwood several years ago. And the compromise is on the Starwood system, which means that this implies in terms of the merger and acquisitions. When you merge the company, you acquire the company, you try to acquire the value that they have. But here, the risk that is already embedded there, you have to be accountable as well. So the due diligence has to be aware of this as well. This implies in terms of yourself, you probably want to pursue the career in different aspects. You want to be in the legal, you want to do M&A, merger and acquisition, you want to do other things. Here still, the digital cybersecurity is your job. It's not just IT people. And what I want to highlight is that since I've been in the business school, in the School of Management back in Sachin Chulalongkorn University. So most of the students in the class is business managers, executive MBA. So they are in the non-IT area. And mostly they would think that cybersecurity is about the IT job. It's sitting in the IT department, but it's not. So at the end, I would like to highlight that the cyber attack, the computer virus, the malware, it's just like the coronavirus. It's a COVID-19 that we got an attack now. And it's not just the job of the medical doctor compared to here. It's not just the job of the IT professional. It's everyone's job that you need to be take care of. Everyone, all the process have to be involved. Okay, so here I just want to quickly go through the trend about the cyber threat. And this one is a recent report by the Interpol, the ASEAN Cyber Threat Assessment. So I just want to highlight a few trends that is being come up here. And this one is just the layout of the recent incidents from the ASEAN country. We have the data breach in Indonesia, e-commerce. Some of you probably from Indonesia, you probably know that, and probably be the victims. Big e-commerce is being data leak is got attacked. The ransomware in the ST Engineering Aerospace in Singapore, Thailand as well. We got 2020 in the hospital, and this is in the target during the COVID-19 medical hospital. in the healthcare industry is the main target in the ransomware, because if you cannot access the data to do the healthcare operation, that is a big disaster. And the bad guy want to get the money out of that in order to unlock the file, unlock the systems. And also the red mart that Lazada acquired the red mart and also got the data breach as well that compromised. So if you have that, you've probably been compromised and you need to be out of the radar on all of this. Okay, the threat from this recent study found that this is the 5 main area that is rising in terms of the threat. This is email compromise is one of the area that is key, especially the company that does target they target on the company that have the wire transfer and have supplier in the foreign country. So they will hack into the executive email accounts or the high-level employee in both the finance, and they appear to be like a legitimate supplier, do a business, and then transfer the money for a business deal. But actually, the money is transferred to the bad guy already. The phishing, you probably have seen a lot right now in the COVID situation, where a lot of media, a lot of attention get into the COVID-19 theme. So the fake websites, they implanted a spyware, interactive COVID map, all of this. If you click into it, you will be infected and you become the victim as well. Ransomware, as I mentioned that, so they try to, it's a practice of locking the files. You cannot access the file, lock the system, and you have to pay them the money in order for you to resume the access. And the things that the ransomware is being a lot, and most people don't want to tell the public that they are being the victim because it's a reputation, it's an image. But the incident is you seen in the news, it's just a fraction of the whole things here. E-commerce is as well is another area that they try to intercept the sensitive information during the transactions. Crimeware as a service is something rising. We have software as a service, but in the dark space, the crimeware, the software program that give you the criminal crime also is a service very easily to be accessible and available. Just like this one, phishing as a service. So if you have a shopping cart, you can choose about what type of interface for the phishing scheme that you can use. This is in the dark web that you can actually trading on this. And you can see that this is the list of the credit card with that is being stolen and is sold on the dark market. Have the shopping cart, have the price tag on that. So your credit card is being stolen, it can be appear on this kind of website as well. It's a big business there, so you need to be very aware of this. And the fake news is also another area that is coming during the COVID-19. You can see in the purple area, besides the things that I mentioned, that is also the cyber threat that you have to be aware as well. Okay. One thing that I want to highlight here is about this one. Let's go through very quickly is the trends that is coming in terms of cybersecurity, impact of remote work. So now everyone all of a sudden that we never been able to work at home, everyone have to work at home, but in terms of the security, it's not ready yet. So you use your own device to access the corporate data, something sensitive, and you don't have the enterprise level of protections. So that is the leak there. And sometimes you use your own device to access corporate data. And if you lost the device, what happened? All the sensitive information about the customer is gone as well. Do the company have ability to remote wipe? Just like in your iPhone, you can remote wipe. You can do that, but if they remote wipe your own personal data, your own photo, probably can be wiped off as well. So this is another issue. Mobile rise, increased attack by the cloud services, ransomware, COVID phishing, and use of the AI that's gonna be heavily using a lot as well. Insider threat, I will highlight on this, and data privacy, another issue, because we own the data. It's
Excuse me,
our data.
apologies. Dr. Mai will.
The time, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, so I will go through. Yes.
Okay.
And the dancer of the here. Let me start. So I just want to find out this one is the measure is people, process, and technology. People is all of you need to be aware of the threat, know how to protect yourself. Procedure, process that is put in place, and technology. Technology is just one thing to protect it, just like COVID-19. Technology would help, but you have a lot of process to handle. You have to protect yourself from clean your hands, put the mask, and we cannot rely just the technical guys. And I probably just edit up here. So I just want to highlight that here, this is your role as consumer of the digital technology. If you are in a corporate setting, you want to do a startup company, this is the aspect that you need to be aware of. Not just make sure good things happen, you need to make sure bad things not happening as well. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Dr. Patron, for your insights, and I do apologize for the quick interruption. But as you know, yes, thank you. Before we proceed to the next speaker, I would like to say thank you to His Excellency Mr. Igusti Agung Sakapuja. He will be leaving us shortly, and on behalf of all, I would like to again appreciate your presence here and for giving the wonderful speech, and hope we will be honored by having you join us in our future event.
My pleasure indeed. See you again.
Thank you. See you again. All right, everyone, as we have heard from our first presenter, Dr. Patrawan, let's dig in deeper to our workshop topic. The next presentation will be delivered by Mr. Ali Hakim, Regional Sales Head, ASEAN Akamai Technologies Incorporated. Since joining Akamai in 2005, Mr. Hakim has been building and growing Akamai's business across various Asia markets, including Hong Kong, China, Taiwan, and ASEAN countries. Ali is passionate about catalyzing the growth of economies across ASEAN by enabling enterprises to leverage internet and to transform and new innovative business models. Across more than 25 years, Ali has worked with organizations in various industries, verticals to enable them to leverage information technology, while at the same time to build resilience against cyber threats. So he will be enriching our knowledge specifically on cybersecurity safeguards. Mr. Ali Hakim, you may begin your presentations.
Thank you, Nini, for the introduction. Let me share my screen now. Can see my screen?
Yes, very clear.
Very good afternoon to the ASEAN Youth Organization and honorable speakers and all the young friends here. So, Dr. Patrawan just now has given you a very good outline of the cybersecurity, so that makes my job quite easy as well. If you're just curious about my name, so I was born in Medan, Indonesia. But since I was a teenager, I came over to Singapore, studied here, eventually lived and became a citizen here. And through my work, I have the opportunity to work with people and organizations across the ASEAN region as well. So I'm a very much ASEAN person. So I'm going to focus more about the cybersecurity aspects that are related to the internet. As you know, nowadays we cannot live without the internet. So I know that because I have two kids about your age as well. You know, if they can go without TV or movies, but they cannot live without internet, right? And especially with the COVID pandemic has proven that, has emphasized that the internet is so important, so critical to our daily lives and carrying our daily lives. And everything from students, you do home-based learning, for example, from organization being able to serve their customers, interact with their customers via the internet, as well as also the employees as well, being able to carry on their work, accessing, working from home through the internet as well. So you can't live without the internet, but it is a dangerous place, right? So let's go through that. And again, Dr. Patarawan has done the job of explaining the key aspects of what is considered as cybersecurity, right? So I won't go through the confidentiality and integrity. On the availability, I want to add that this is often an overlooked area, right? The availability of critical data is equally important as well, because especially in the current situation, we have to work or use vital information as and when needed through the internet. So the non-availability of it can be a disaster as well. Can be a critical impact to the organization or as well as individual too. Now I'd like to add two more aspects of that, what's considered a cybersecurity assurance, right? So you want not only the security of the data, but also the assurance of that, the authentication, to ensure that only the authorized people or the organization have access or be able to receive or use those critical data or a system, right? So authentication, normally it uses a form identification. It could be biometric identification, and now more and more so using a multi-factor authentication. Last but not least is non-repudiation. What it means that you want to ensure that the transaction, an actual transaction, or a sharing, a transmission of data, critical data, did actually happen, right? And both parties cannot say that it doesn't happen. So the senders of that data need to receive proof of delivery, that the data has been delivered, has been received well, and the receiver, right, the recipient of that is given the identity of the sender, that it is coming from the right sender, or for example, the company that it says it is, right? So this two additional aspects of that. So how does the bad actors, those hackers or malicious actors, try to circumvent this, right? Try to get to those. So these are the kind of landscape, the trend that we're seeing now. So first, I must say that these are not exhaustive. This will always be evolving. One thing is certain is that the bad actors will always come up with new ways to try to get to those valuable data. So as a person, as an individual, so I myself also have to learn from scratch and still continue to learn that. So my advice is that continue to update yourself. You are keen about cybersecurity, and it is a good career prospect as well. Cybersecurity talents are really hard sought after right now, right? They are high in demand as well. So the key one is for bad actors to exploit is that the application, all application, everything from a website or mobile native app, right, or a software that you use may have vulnerability. And nowadays, also because of the ecosystem that's built between everything from e-commerce to messaging to social media to financial institution, all this ecosystem requires APIs, and that API also have vulnerability as well. So those are the areas that the bad actors will exploit. And there are organizations such as, for example, OWASP, right? Open Web Application Security Project. So these are non-profit organizations, and they have a website that you can go to. And these are people, volunteers that they review kind of best practices and then point out what are the top 10 areas that developers or organization of web application API need to look after, right? So the API web application. So these are, for example, the API aspect part. I won't go through that one by one. The other areas that the attacker exploit is that the software supply chain. And you've heard in the news, breaking news headlines, more and more software that are commonly used by organizations. So things like Microsoft Exchange Server, these are very popular software that are used by many, many organizations, Akamai included as well, right? They exploit loophole in there, vulnerability in there, and then they plant malware into that. So that's where organizations need to have some mitigation measures, which I'll go through later on. And they're not alone. So for example, SolarWinds, it's another one. GitHub, if you're developers among the friends here, you will know GitHub, right? So these are developers, place that developers will share their codes. For example, organization may also share sample codes as well. Again, the bad actors may exploit that, putting in malware in there, and then when developer download that, put into their own application, and that's where it propagate the malware to other organizations. The other aspect is that a web application, for example, more and more use of something called the third-party scripts. And this is example, just Akamai homepage alone, a web homepage. You see that all these dots here, all these various dots represent a third party. It could be a Google Analytics, for example. It could be a link to a Facebook or Twitter, for example, or our third-party partners, right? Why are those required? Because nowadays an organization cannot stand alone, right? And also for just now I talked about the ecosystem, but also there are other aspects as well, depending on what your website need to do. For example, e-commerce website need to do personalization on the kind of products that is presented to a consumer based on the preference, right? So this again will require a third-party scripts, or social media, for example, lots of third-party scripts as well. So there are that present risks. So what happens is that the bad actors, if they cannot exploit any vulnerability in your own application, they will look at what are the third-party partners, the kind of script or software they're using, and they will try to penetrate those, right? In fact, those codes of the third-party partners, and then once they get their malware in, and then the web browser, as a user, you load that into your browser, and that's where it can take away your PII data, the personal identifiable information. It could be your credit card data as well, right? It could be your bank account, user password, and login information. And that has happened quite a lot. And there are various bad actors groups like MageCard, PickReal, Alpaca, and more come out every day, right? And a number of organizations has fallen victim to that, and has also got penalties, as what Dr. Patarawan shown just now. These are just an examples of this, and more are coming up as well. Okay, the next area is remote access, which traditionally we use virtual private network. As you have seen that the pandemic requires organization to allow their employees to work from home. In fact, I've been working from home for more than a year now. And the way for us to access our enterprise application to do our job, we need to access those applications remotely, right? And yes, Akamai in the past has also used VPN, but because of this pandemic, we took this drastic step that because VPN have a lot of vulnerabilities, right? It has been exploited. So we took these measures to actually get us out entirely from the VPN. Why is that so? Because the traditional security approach, if you look at like in the movies, you see those castle, right? Castle will have a fortress around it. It has a wall, a high wall around it, and typically will have only one main door, right, going into the castle. So that has been the traditional approach. Even organization, for example, right, they assume that those employees that comes into the office and sit in the office and they are within the office so that they are protected by a firewall. But nowadays it's no longer true, because employees now work from home or anywhere. So they could be, like me, when travel was possible, we work from airport even. So that kind of model is no longer effective. And in fact, it has proven to be obsolete. It is a very risky approach to do that. So for example, why is it risky through via VPN? So let's say, for example, this employee is working from home, uses a client, could be a smartphone, it could be a laptop, and then connect through the internet, forming a virtual private network into the organization, right, to access the critical application to do their job. Now, the attacker can then infect the client using various kind of methods that I've talked about previously, and then through that VPN gain access to the organizations. Once in there, the malware can do what we call the lateral movement. They can go right or left to find the valuable data and steal them, right? Or could be even doing the ransomware as well. So that has been also shown, has gained headlines as well, that in fact, the US Cybersecurity Agency has also provide advisory to all the US government agencies to avoid using VPN. And if you follow the news, if you heard about the Colonial Pipeline, for example, that recently that got a ransomware, and because of that, the whole eastern seaboard of the US ran out of the oil, right? Fuel, especially during the winter time. And actually, the root cause of that is a stolen leaked password to the VPN access, and that's how the ransomware is got into the organization. We talked about malware before. Ransomware is also one form of malware. And how do they get into the organization, right? And nowadays is a lot of method. Phishing has been around for a long time, but it has got into the fashion again, right? And during the pandemic, we've seen that there are 400% increase in phishing. Phishing could be in the form of email, sending your email and luring you to click on an email. Or it could be when you're going to a social media. It could be Instagram or TikTok, and it could be presented to you in a content that you follow and luring you to click on a link. And with that, then the malware gets into the device. And Akamai has done quite a number of research on that, which you can download from our website as well. And typically, the phishing, to lure the unsuspecting victim is that they may be presented as gift, right? They'll win some prizes or airline tickets or a mobile phone, for example, or in the game format, you win some prizes, right? And then again, asking you to click on a link. And last but not least, for availability, the attacker may do a distributed denial of service attack. Now, what can you do as an individual, as a netizen, right? Use original and constantly update your software, because the software manufacturer will find loopholes, as we shared, just a vulnerability in the software, and then will provide patches to do patch your software. And strong password, as has been said by Dr. Patarawan just now, do not reuse your password, especially for really critical kind of application like internet banking or mobile banking. And wherever possible, use multi-factor authentication. It's provided by, if it's provided by the application, use that, right? I strongly recommend that. And I know many of you use the social media. Try not to leave any of your personal identifier information on those social media, right? I've seen people posting even their medical prescription, having all their PII data in there as well. So be mindful of what you post on your social media. And do comply with security measures and be alert. If it's something that sounds too good to be true, it is not true, right? So adopt that kind of a curious mindset. And if you are work for organization, right? So from organization perspective, the cybersecurity culture needs to be holistic. It's not, again, it's not just IT security department that is responsible for that. It needs to come from all the way from the board, the management, to each of the employees, right? The cybersecurity culture and mindset. Processes, tighten the processes, everything from gathering and processing of customer or important data, as well as the inner application development process as well. Defense in depth. Again, there are many areas that the attackers will try to get in. So trying to infect a device, a laptop, or a server, going through your firewall, going through your VPN. So there's no single, and I'll be the first to say that, though Akamai provides a security solution, no single company can provide all the solution, right? So again, you need to provide, to implement defense in depth. Lastly, zero trust concept. So this has been now the key concept going forward. Just now I mentioned about the castle and moat approach. It's no longer effective. What needs to be done is zero trust. You cannot trust anybody, even your own employee. It doesn't mean that your employee is within your office, it is safe. It's not, because their device could be already infected. So apply a zero trust kind of mindset and always authenticate, and do not provide access to network, to the organization network. Only provide access to a specific application that is important for that particular employee to do his or her job, right? No, do not provide access to the organization network at all. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ali, for the informative presentations on the cybersecurity safeguards. Please, I invite you along with Ms. Dr. Patrawan to join us until the Q&A session. So next presentation will be delivered by Ms. Anita Wahid, Vice Chairwoman, Cyber Kriaski, Indonesia. Ms. Anita Wahid is an activist on issues of human rights and democracy, mainly on 3 issues: anti-corruption, religious tolerance, and information disorders. For the past 5 years, she focuses on how information disorders such as misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation have been a major challenge in Indonesia. She now serves as Vice President Chairperson, Cyber Kriaski Indonesia, and also Presidium of the Indonesia Anti-Hoax Community. She holds a bachelor degree in international relations from the University of Indonesia and master degree in development management from Germany. She will now enrich our knowledge more specifically on youths as cyber offenders. Ms. Anita, you may begin your presentation.
Thank you so much, Nini. Good afternoon, His Excellency I Gusti Agung Wesaka Puja, Dr. Mai, and Mr. Ali. I think I've learned so much from listening to 3 of you. And hello, everyone who's attending this webinar. It's been a pleasure to be invited to speak here and to meet all of you. I'd like to share my screen now, and I think I'm going to say that lots of issues about cybersecurity has been covered by Dr. Mai and Pak Ali Hakim, and that leaves me probably in about us as internet users about what can we do from here, about how can we really protect ourselves, about how can we make a difference. Because I love how Asian Youth Organization, when you play the video before the event starts, it says in the video that your tagline is "Create change for a better world," and I think that's a very good place to leave this webinar with. And so my name is Anita Wahid. Thank you, Nini, for introducing me. One of the things that I'm also now serving is as a member of Security Advisory Council for TikTok Asia Pacific. And that's where I've been gaining quite a lot of insights about the security and safety issues, which I think something that I can share with you later on, including also how Cyber Kriasi has been part of the movement that's trying to deal with these issues as well. So I think this is when it comes to cyber crimes and cyber attacks, we've heard a lot from Ali and also Dr. Mai, but also we need to consider about the quite a lot of this spectrum of cyber crime. Some of us may probably be victims of these cyber crimes in all spectrums, be it the victim of identity theft, or a victim of doxing, or victim of phishing, victim of spam, or victim of cracking, or even disinformation, cyberbullying, for instance. But some of us may not realize that maybe we are also one of those people who actually conduct these cyber crimes, because cyber crimes are not only about all the hard stuffs that Pak Ali and Dr. Mai explained to us about attacking companies, for instance, or about trying to use malware and ransomware to gain information and personal data about other people, but also about how we conduct ourselves in social media. And maybe sometimes during our times using social media, we enable some sort of a cybercrime to happen, not only to us, but maybe to other people that we know. For instance, like a very simple example is probably you just come to your friend's house and then you take a selfie with them. And then you post it online, that you post the selfie online, and then you tag the location of where you were with them. That's also something that enabled the identity theft, because now people will know that your friend's house is at that address. that would be a sensitive information. Or you may want to just express yourself and saying that your friend likes doing this, blah, 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 blah. Have a certain routine, for instance, that you provide on social media. And that will also enable people with bad intentions to actually create profile about your friend. And that profile can help them to create a fake account, a fake identity of your friend, which then they can use to do something else. They can do online application to online loans, for instance, or they can even do extortion to other people. They can do so much more. So maybe this is a good time for us to really rethink about what we do in social media. Do we really protecting ourselves and our close ones, our loved ones, or are we one of those people who really have absolutely no awareness about what we are doing in social media and actually become enabler for these cyber crimes to happen to us and also to other people? So if we take a look at this on the screen right now, we've seen that quite a lot of different types of cybercrime is actually prevalent. One of the things that we might engage in when we are in social media is spreading disinformation about something, or about an organization, or about a group, or about a celebrity, which incite hatred towards them, for instance. Or we were in the middle of something, of a heated discussion, and we decided to mock someone or get into cyberbullying to someone else. That's also something that we might want to really think about whether we are doing those kind of things or not. And of course, when it comes to enabling or do we without awareness just provide too many information about us that enables things to happen to us? Do we really take precautions in clicking a link, or do we understand that someone else might be impersonating us, or do we are we aware that our icon accounts probably were being hijacked by someone else? Those are the things that we need to really think about. And those are the things that we think that, wow, why is internet so full of dangers and so full of bad people with bad intentions? Well, that's one thing that we really need to consider. But at the same time, we also need to consider that the fact that what's happening in internet right now also gives us lots of opportunities. We've seen how easy right now for us to share information and knowledge, especially in terms of cybersecurity. That would make it easier for us to learn about cybersecurity, say, from people who has credibilities like Pa Ali or Dr. Mai, or some other IT securities, for instance. We can just easily go to any social media platform and try to find information and learn from those experts. We can use social media to raise awareness about the issue, for instance. And we have people and other entities that help create things for us to make ourselves secure, such as a website that we can use to check whether our email has been compromised or not. And there are websites that allow us to check whether our password is strong enough or not. We have people who are providing us with open source antivirus software, for instance. So at the end of the day, we have people with malicious intents, but at the same time, we also have good people who are willing to help us in kind of fight those people and protect ourselves. Like for this screen that I put up here, this is the top tips for cybersecurity that I didn't make. It was made by the government of New Zealand, for instance. They come up with top tips for cybersecurity and they put it up. And we've seen so many of these tips throughout the internet to help other people and to help us to secure ourselves. And this is a good thing because now awareness raising in cybersecurity has been one of the things that is also rising, considering how because of the pandemic we've spent about 90% of our waking time on the internet, and that's one of the opportunities that we have right now. And right now, I'd like to believe that our common goal is to create a safe digital space for all of us, not only for ourselves, but all other people, especially people we love. So if we want to achieve that goal, we have to consider two things. First of all, we have to protect ourselves and others, and the second is the importance of restraining ourselves from committing cyber crimes. And that's one thing that we really need to take a look from the very beginning. When it comes to protecting ourselves and others, Pa Ali and Dr. Mai has already given us quite a lot of tips. But I think one of the things that really important and not to be missed is the fact that, as Pa Ali mentioned, when it comes to cybersecurity and people with bad intentions, those perpetrators are always come up with different and more sophisticated technologies to try to breach our data, to try to commit the cyber crimes. That is why increasing knowledge and skills becoming very, very important for us. Not only one time, it's not a one-time event. You cannot just go to a class and learn about cybersecurity and then you think that you have all the knowledge. No, it's always developing, it's always progressing. So we have to continuously adjust our knowledge and skills in this issue as well. And of course, it's not only about the digital cybersecurity that we need to adopt, but we also need to consider digital literacy because it's really connected. Both of them are really connected. This information, which is part of cybercrime, for instance, is really connected on how the digital literacy on information it might be low for some people, so they commit that without knowing that they are doing that, for instance. Or the digital culture for some people, they don't understand probably when you go to internet that you will meet people from different backgrounds with different cultural backgrounds as well that we need to respect, and then we just bully some people who we think are wrong when in fact they are just representing what their culture is, for instance. So there are lots of aspects of digital literacy that will coincide a lot with with cybersecurity. And then we also, of course, take necessary security measures, as Pa Ali and Dr. Mai had explained, like about the passwords, about two-factor authentication, updating softwares and everything else. Be very careful about public Wi-Fi. Check your online bank account regularly. Check your online bills for credit cards regularly, for instance, and so on and so on. That we have to adopt. That's not an option. That's a must. And when it comes to protecting ourselves and others, we have sort of a moral obligation to actually spread the knowledge and the skills that we already have. Along with the increasing knowledge and skills, then we share them with the world. Then we share to make sure that other people are adopting those kind of measurements as well in their own digital space. So, but if we take a look at the other end, there is also us as, the people who are committing the cybercrime or enabling cybercrime to happen. Then we really have to develop a sense of responsibility when we are entering the digital world. By responsibility, I mean to really understand that whatever we do on social media, on the internet, there's always going to be an impact, whether the impact is on you or other people or even the nation or even the world. There's always an impact that will be created by that. Critical thinking is also one of the things that is very important to be adopted, because critical thinking is very much related to how we make sure our safety when it comes to information, for instance, is secured. We know how to verify informations. We know when a disinformation comes to our gadgets, and we know not to spread them. We know how to help spread the verification, for instance. That's really, really important. Emotional intelligence is one of the things that rarely talked about when it comes to digital space, but it's really, really important. Why? Because a lot of the cyber crimes actually engage in social engineering. It's a method that lured us into giving data because some emotions were coming up in ourselves when we receive certain information. For instance, panic, because we thought that there's something something bad is about to happen if we don't give our data, or we feel pity for someone who says that they are in need of our help, so we just want to transfer them some money without checking whether whether this person is valid, or the story checks out or not. Those kind of emotional intelligence will really help us to be grounded when we are in the digital sphere, because then whenever there's some information that comes up, we can detect what is it that I'm feeling. If I suddenly feel so much hatred for another group of people, then maybe this is a disinformation, or maybe this is an online propaganda. Then I need to calm myself and not just forward the information, for instance. And of course, there are core values that we need to uphold, the values of whatever it is that you think is important for your guides in your life, such as humanity, respect for other people, honesty, responsibility, wisdom, whatever it is. It will help us guide ourselves and when we are navigating ourselves in the digital space. And one of the things that is very important is to get ourselves really attached to our digital ethics. Digital ethics will allow us certain things, and will say no to certain things. So that whenever we want to commit something, we will really want to ask ourselves, is it committing the ethics that I uphold or not? Is it against the social norms where I'm at or not? So we really need to understand that some of the cyber crimes that are happening in the internet world actually are violations of digital ethics, such as violation to privacy, or piracy. Digital piracy is a violation to digital ethics. And whenever a digital ethic is violated, there is always a victim. It can be us, it can be other people, it can be society, it can be the whole world.
Apologies, Miss Anita. I'll have
Yes.
to interrupt you and stop you right here, because we will proceed to the Q&A session.
Oh,
I
okay.
do apologize.
Okay, but my stopwatch only says 13 minutes, but that's okay. That's okay. Okay, I'll stop the sharing here.
Thank you, Miss Anita, for your insights on cyber offenders as ASEAN youths. We will now proceed to the Q&A session with the first question to Dr. Mai from the International Youth Club Vietnam. It is mentioned that, could the speakers explain more about the cybersecurity control policy in your countries? They then set an example. In Vietnam, it is currently a major concern for government and education system. Many bad behaviors of youth on the internet, students immorally communicating on social media, and plagiarism in their study. How can we solve these problems?
Okay, so this is if we're talking about the policies, so it's gonna be a very big issue. So for Thailand, they have variety of agencies that handle this situation. But recently, I just got a chance to involve in drafting the National Cybersecurity Strategic Plan for Thailand. So with that insight, the government tried to look in different aspects in terms of the core infrastructure, like telecommunication infrastructure, that they can detect the threat and block certain activity that would help to actually going down to the consumer. That would be one thing from the operator itself. From the knowledge aspect is like Anita really highlight about the educating awareness of the consumer themselves is another area that the government try to have the policy to actually train the consumer on this part. So they try to collaborate with major agencies, technologies, the commerce of chamber, as well as the university, or I see some of the comment is about the education. This kind of knowledge should be embedded in part of the curriculum in the formal education. So it's like you learn about how to live in daily life, because this thing is more in the daily life, right? So how you can be incorporate and be aware of the risk and update all the threat and way to improve your knowledge and the measures on police on this kind of thing, because things change over time. The way you use technology change over time. The threat also change. So this kind of thing may be included in the curriculum. That's one of the area that the government tried to look into it. Yes.
Thank you. Would other speakers want to express more on the matter?
Yeah, I think many of the ASEAN countries are now enacting or either already or in the process of doing so, the Personal Data Privacy and Protection Act. Yeah, I think each country is doing that, and European countries, for example, so they've taken a step forward with the GDPR. Many have modeled the act regulation over that as well, using that as a template. Yeah.
Yes, to add on the GDPR things, I think this one is from your side. As all of you is a consumer, you can be a good area of give a pressure for the business operator or the government, because they consume your data. And if you know this kind of practice, like when you go to a restaurant bookings and you give your phone number and they just write it down your phone number, and that is your data. So anyone can take a peek of that they already violate in terms of the data privacy. So they need to have a proper measure to handle your phone number. It's not everyone can have a peek on that. So this kind of thing, then is the law already in place, but from the consumer perspective, you have the right to be able to report that they not handle this well. And that is the pressure from the consumer itself to actually make things more formal in the business practice.
All right, Ms. Anita, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I was just going to add the same thing as Pali Hakim also says, that now in Indonesia as well, we are now in the middle of trying to pass the bill on data protection. But the real question is not about whether or not the bill is passed, but about the implementation. Is it really going to? It's sort of a law umbrella for all of us, making sure that we are protected. But at the same time, whenever there's a breach of data that is happening, maybe towards a company that holds quite a lot of public data, then the company will be punished, but the data is already breached. So that's one of the things that we really need to consider, and why the education side is much more important and urgent right now, because at the end of the day, the law doesn't cover that part.
Thank you. Now, the second question is from the Philippines, delivered to Mr. Ali Hakim. There are a lot of social media hackers in our country. How can we avoid social media hackers? And is it possible that if our social media accounts are hacked, we will be able to identify the hacker and recover our accounts?
Yeah, so let me address the last part of the question first. Quite typically, it is very difficult to identify who is the real bad actor. that have stolen your social media account. So it could be somebody that has a motive, right? Anybody that has a motive. So how do you avoid that is, just now, let's say you use strong password, right? Do not reuse your password. Just, you have to assume that your user ID and password will have been leaked or breached in other websites. So many examples have been shown just now, anything from Yahoo to LinkedIn to even commercial accounts like Marriott, for example, not only social media. So if you use the same user ID and password in multiple social media accounts, if one is leaked in one website, and then your accounts in others will be compromised as well. And again, many of these social media sites has also implemented second factor authentication as well. Do implement that to further protect yourself. And of course, be very alert. They can try to get to your credentials using phishing methods, right? Be very alert that you do not give out this user ID password because you're lured to click on something or lured to answer something, because in order to do that, you can get present, you can get prizes and all that. So be very mindful of that.
What other speakers want to add anything to the question? Okay, if not, the third question would be to Miss Anita. It is from Sheena from the Philippines. So I just shortly read the question. There are some cases whereas you report a person who steals your identity and uses your photo. However, reporting these accounts are often rejected, which enables them to continue sharing someone's identity for illegal transactions such as scamming or malicious activities. What do you want to say about this, especially now that we don't know and can't easily detect if the identity is who or not? And how could we use that in other social media platforms, especially those that are not popular? Thank you.
Right. So yeah, this is one of the things that are quite happening quite a lot. I think in almost every country. I think the social media platform has a feature where we can actually report that. But if we want the imposter get taken down, we have to provide some kind of evidence or proof that we are who we say we are and that they are not. And maybe when I'm not sure about your case, how was it, but maybe it was the thing that lacked the most. That's why the other account was not being taken down. But here's the thing: social media platforms, if you understand the number of users and the number of posts that has been that's being used on a daily basis in those social media on each social media platforms, in comparison with the number of moderators that they have, it's very the gap is just too wide. So if you report something and about 100,000 other people were reporting to the same social media platform, they have very limited number of moderators to actually do that. So my suggestion will be to really be careful about your account. Be careful in terms of who you let to see your accounts, who you let to see your posts, such that they won't be able to profile you. So those are the things that you may want to consider, and of course using the other safety measures such as two-factor authentication. And when that happens, there's an imposter trying to impersonate you, let everyone in your network know that that person is fake, because otherwise they would be able to do something fraudulent, like trying to extort something to your friends or to your family.
Is there a comment from other speakers? All right, if not, since our workshop today is approaching to the end of the session, I would like to notify about the evaluation feedback from what we can be assessed through this slide. The team will be showing the feedback form, so you guys can have some comments on it. And I would like to summarize the whole session that we have heard and gained so much from today's session, and how we can utilize the cybersecurity, take part in developing the cybersecurity, since the digital age is our age, and it is where we can forward our ASEAN to the future. So let's help each other tackle these issues for a sustainable digital ASEAN. All right, let me repeat again, since our workshop today is approaching to the end, this is the feedback evaluation form that can be accessed. And I would also like to remind you that only those who participate at least 2 AYDF events and fill in the feedback form will get an A certificate. So please kindly share your thoughts and opinions regarding our workshop today through the feedback form, which is shown upon the screen. All right, so it has been a fruitful discussion for today, and it is such a shame that our time is ending. And I'm actually really happy to moderate this session with you guys. I do hope that this webinar could bring you positive energy and new insights, and deeper knowledge on the topic of digital literacy. And for those who wish to watch this discussion again, you can simply find us sooner or later in our Facebook page, ASEAN Youth Organization. And to remind again, we will have another AYDF session, which is tomorrow, which would be on cross-border internship at 1 p.m. Jakarta time. So thank you for our partners for making AYDF happen, which is mainly supported by the ASEAN Chief Information Officer Association, ASEAN Human Development Organization, GRAB, and Center for Digital Society of University of Gajah Mada, and our media partners, the National Council of Youth Organizations in Korea, Christian University of Indonesia, Prince of Songkla University, Soegi Japanata Catholic University, and special thanks for the ASEAN Chief Information Officer Association for their support, and look forward to the ASEAN Hackathon happening in November. So once again, thank you very much for your enthusiasm, especially to the speakers and our participants who've been asking questions. I hope that we would meet again in future events, and see you in the next session. Have a great weekend, and goodbye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, Miss Patarawan. Thank you, Miss
Thank you,
Anita.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Ali.
Dr. Mai, Nini.
Thank you, Anita. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Evelyn.
Good to meet you all.
Dini. Thank you, everyone.
Saudi Cup.
Anita, Dr. Mai.
Have a great weekend.
Sawadee.
Thank you so much.
Hope we meet again someday.
Yes, hope to see you. Yes.
Forward to
Also, it's not sure when.
I'm actually, looking forward to see those slides like fully presented. And yeah, this is like the time where we're really interested to see more.
Maybe
Thank
we
you.
have a second round of this amazing.
Well,
Bye, bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Have a
Thank you
great
so much.
weekend.
Have a great weekend. Stay healthy, everyone.
Since the sunshine comes from the east, till the light of the dark is coming, we are all up in our eyes, we are all up in our hearts. one spirit. We run and struggle. Let's reach our dream together.